Am I the idiot for not allowing my nephew to buy a video game? So, last year my sister and brother-in-law died in a car accident. Her will stated that the guardianship of her son, my nephew, 15, should be given to me and that all their savings and current bank account be given to us, me, my husband, and my son, 7, for the purpose of providing for my nephew. My son absolutely adores my nephew and wants to do everything with him. He plays the same games, watches the same shows with my nephew, and even wants to join my nephew when he goes out with his friends. On the other hand, my nephew has been behaving absolutely horribly, telling my son to leave him alone, never letting his son go out with him and his friends, often rudely telling him to go away and trying to exclude him from every activity. Recently my son came crying to me because my nephew was playing a game and didn't let him play. Nephew acted out and yelled that son was ruining his game, and that it was a single-player game, so he couldn't include a son. I asked why nephew got to play and son didn't and gave the game to son. I told him from now on, don't buy single-player games because son will want to play, and unless nephew is willing to let him take turns. The nephew went off the rails, saying that single-player games are his favorite, and also the majority of the gaming industry. He yelled that everything son would do in his gameplay would mess with nephew's game. He essentially painted my son as an irresponsible 7-year-old who messes everything up, even though this wasn't a problem until his nephew came to our house. Now, recently I got to know that a lot of the games nephew plays are age inappropriate for my son, and this shocked me to my core. Like, seriously, a 7-year-old playing NC-16 games? I told my nephew to no longer buy these games, as it's not good for my son. A couple of days ago nephew came home with a new game, which I asked to see. He told me, no, but my husband took it from him, and I found that it was both a single-player game and demi-teen. I got pissed and grounded my nephew for 5 months. I told him very simple instructions, no PG games, and no single-player games, but this was both. Recently my other sister and my parents called me, and told me they're appalled by this, and essentially called me and my husband a giant idiot, and now I'm wondering if I was too harsh with the punishment. You are the idiot. That's normal behavior for a 15-year-old to a 7-year-old. You are way out of line. The world doesn't revolve around your son. Edit. Also, it's entirely your fault that your kid is playing games for 16 and up. Maybe monitor your child? It's not your nephew's job to watch your kid. If this is real, you are the idiot. Your nephew lost both of his parents just last year and has had to move in with you and your family. You don't seem to be doing anything to help your nephew manage his grief. Also, I don't know of any 15-year-old who wants his 7-year-old cousin tagging along when he goes out with friends. Frankly, I wouldn't want my 7-year-old son in the company of a bunch of 15-year-olds. The two boys are at very different places in life, so it is understandable that your nephew isn't excited to have his much younger cousin around all of the time. As for your son, like the same shows and video games, younger kids like to emulate older kids. It is not your nephew's responsibility to make sure that your son is always included in every activity he does. Nor is it your nephew's responsibility to provide age-appropriate video games for a 7-year-old. That is your responsibility. As for grounding him for 5 months, you have got to be kidding. Instead of using your nephew as a nanny for his young cousin, you need to be helping your nephew adjust to losing his parents and his new living situation. You are the idiot so effing much. Your nephew is 15 and your son is 7, of course. He doesn't always want to play with him, and making your nephew take him when he's hanging out with friends is so wrong. Saying he can't buy a game that is only one player and is too old for your son is so wrong. I feel so sorry for your nephew having to live with such sucky people. Am I the idiot for thinking my wife is being materialistic and immature? Throw away because friends know my Reddit. My 35M wife, 34F, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 4. She was abused as a kid and taken from her family and still doesn't speak to them, which I totally get. I, however, I'm really close to my family. Every year for Christmas my family gets me a bunch of presents and a joint gift for my wife and I. My wife opens the joint gift from my family and her gift from me, but she never seems very enthused about Christmas in general. She usually just spends the day helping out with cooking and cleaning and helping my young cousin, 12, put together his gifts. This year was different, obviously. We decided rather than go to visit my family for Christmas we'd stay home, just the two of us. To my surprise, she got really into the whole Christmas thing. She got a tree and decorated it, made cookies, watched Christmas movies, the whole 9 yards. Until a few days before Christmas, when a package arrived from my family, full of all my Christmas gifts and the joint gift to her and I. She got really quiet about the whole thing for a few hours, then went back to being chipper and excited about Christmas, so I didn't think much of it. Yesterday was the Epiphany, we're Catholic, and she seemed to be in a crabby mood while we were putting away all the Christmas decorations, which I attributed to everything that was going on in DC. But she stayed moody throughout the day, even when I tried to cheer her up. Finally, I just asked her outright what was wrong, and she said she was sick of my family making her feel like the matchstick girl when it came to Christmas, even when they weren't there. It turned into a whole argument where she admitted that she's jealous that every year I have heaps and heaps of presents and she only ever gets to open 2, one of which she has to share with me. I reminded her she was 34 and was a little too old to be acting like Dudley Dursley counting presents on his birthday, and maybe she should bring it up with her therapist. She packed a bag and said she's staying at a hotel for a while to cool off. But then she sent me a text today that she's making couples therapy a condition of her coming back home. I get it, really. Her circumstances are tragic, and I feel bad for her. But at the same time, just because she has a shitty family doesn't mean she's entitled to be loved by mine. Our marriage certificate didn't come with a set of adoption papers. I feel like she's being really mature about how many presents we each get to open thing and setting unrealistic expectations for my family. But I reached out to a few of our mutual friends to see if they could talk to her and help her calm down, and was basically told I'm a huge idiot and deserve this. You are the idiot. It never occurred to you that your family never got your wife a Christmas present. They literally do not get her a gift. She sits there every year while everyone else opens piles of presents, and she gets one thing from you. Not sure what her family background has to do with your family treating her like garbage though. I think you've mislabeled who is Dudley in this situation. You're a complete idiot. Sorry, your family sucks, but my family is awesome. Now go cook and clean while I open all my presents. Nom nom. Seriously, a joint gift? No wonder she spends the time cooking, cleaning and with the 12-year-old. It's to distract herself from the utter disappointment of yet another Christmas where she's made to feel unloved and unwanted. Why is she even with you? The way you talk about her, it's like you don't even care. She has literally no one to make her feel special at Christmas. She has such low self-esteem that she sticks around with you, despite you treating her like this. What you should do is speak to your family about how they treat her. Does she buy gifts for them? If she does, where's the reciprocation? Do your bills or sills get gifts? Dude, wake up. You are in the wrong. You are cruel and you are spoiling Christmas for her. She's never had a nice Christmas. She tried this year and you made her feel like crap. Fix this. Or lose her. You're the idiot. Big time. You're the idiot, and so is your family. In all the extended families I have ever been a part of, the family gives equal gifts to the husband and wife. If my mom spends $100 on my unmarried siblings, she spends $50 each on me and my husband. So, even under normal circumstances, your family is being way rude and treating your wife like she's not family. It makes it so much worse that she doesn't have her own family. No wonder she feels like the matchstick girl. And you, rather than doing anything about it, support your family and also only get her one gift. Why don't you try being less materialistic and selling some of your gifts to buy her something else? And make it good, cause it needs to be a really big apology present. Am I the idiot for wanting to work and save to move out rather than babysit my siblings and let my parents pay? I, 19F. am currently a college student in a fast-track associate's program, during which I'm not supposed to have a job due to workload, and I'm currently living with my parents to save money. I've been looking at transfer schools for the fall, and while doing this the topic of moving out came up. I told my parents that I'd start working during the summer to add to my savings and I'd be putting it toward getting an apartment. Some background: I live in a farming family in which the kids in past generations were expected to come back and work on the farm after getting an education. While this isn't the case anymore, I've always been expected to pitch in more than other kids my age. I had to care for my animals, help with house chores, and occasionally babysit, which wasn't a big deal since my parents both worked normal jobs on top of farming. When I entered high school, I spent my breaks home babysitting my brothers, currently 10M and 8M, while my parents worked. I've only attempted to have one job in the past at age 16, which I was forced to quit after it became too inconvenient for my parents to find a babysitter. They tried to hide their motives behind my falling grades, which were A's, or that I was too stressed, but before forcing me to quit they threatened to make me pay for babysitters to cover the times when I was working. Here's where the issue comes in: my dad is against me getting a job because in his eyes we have a mutually beneficial agreement and doesn't see a problem as long as they pitch in toward costs. I on the other hand think that I need some freedom and independence to make some of my own decisions. My mom acts like she agrees with me but in the past has sided on him on this subject. When I mention moving out she always seems to have some plan to add on a new building or rent a new farming property with living space nearby. I've even gone so far as to offer to drop some unnecessary classes I'm taking that aren't required for graduation. Without the extra classes, I'd have the time to start working at a time of the year that we're less busy, but they don't seem all that interested. I might be the asshole because I know they're extremely busy trying to keep up with life and leaving them to find reliable childcare is a pain. But I also really think that I'm an adult and they need to learn to rely on me less so that I can have my own life. Am I the idiot? My parents want me to stay home this summer like normal to babysit my brothers, and I want to work to save money to move out. Not the idiot. I'm 21 and just starting college because my parents refused to let me work in high school. I wish I had the chance to work when I was younger, during high school, because my savings would be bigger. As far as the babysitting, that is their situation to handle, because I also had to deal with situations like that, getting to the point where they made me miss job interviews by ditching my sibling with me on days of interviews that they knew I had. Not an idiot at all. Not the idiot. Your dad is trying to control you using finances and your mother is letting it happen. If they can't afford childcare, they can't afford to have kids. That's not your responsibility. You no longer need their permission to work. Get your job and start looking for other living arrangements. Do they expect you to just be available to them until your siblings are old enough to look after themselves? Your parents are being selfish and using you. Try to have a couch ready to crash on if your dad gives you a "my house, my rules" ultimatum. Not an idiot. You need to experience life, and that means working outside of the family, especially if you're moving away from them. If you stay when you don't want to, you're going to start resenting them, and it's better to just get out before it gets that bad. Their childcare issues are not your problems, and while it's always been X way maybe their reasoning, there are a few points in history where it's always been like that has been overturned for beneficial reasons. You're old enough to make your own decisions.